could fix that. Hey there, here's this week's project. I was looking for something that I could paint in the shop, and I have other furniture that I could paint, and I keep looking at this little child's chair. It's an oak, solid oak children's chair. Um, I have to look up some information about when it could possibly have been made. It is made with some flat screws or single slotted screws and some nails. And I don't know, I'm guessing probably early 1900s, but I'll find out more when I look it up. And I'll add a picture right here of what the tag on the bottom says because it's in great condition. It's like no one ever touched it, even to clean it. It has some chips in it, and I'm going to see what I can do with that. There's a little chip on the edge of the leg here on the right, but it seems like the stretchers are very tight. Everything's very tight. Nothing is loose. And so, yeah, I'm going to refinish it because it's just too cute. Um, so, yeah. Let's see what happens with this, and yeah, we'll start with actually I'm going to use a little bit of TSP to clean this up because it probably has a lot of hand oils and things like that. So yep, let's get started on this and we'll see what we can do with it. That's just a Mrs. Meyer's bottle, but the product inside is TSP mixed with water. Here I'm using Mohawk wax wash remover, and I don't really prefer the aerosol spray, but you can buy it in just a bottle of liquid, and it works really well. So I just want to assess how old the screw might be so that I can get an idea of how old the chair might be. And it's a machined screw, and as they've been machining screws since the 1800s. So one way we can look at it is to see that it's it's a tapered screw, so that means it's later. It comes to a point, which also means that it's later, 1900s or late 1800s. And that slotted top is nice and even, and it looks like it was done by machine. And the joinery of the chair, it's mortise and tenon, and I say that because I've seen it before, but they've kind of tacked it, which is kind of usual. You see that they do the insertion and then they tack it with a little nail. I had to go through quite a bit of fiddling around with how I was going to set this up to work on the leg because I found that this worked, hanging it on the plank, but the plank actually bounced when I hit it with a hammer. So I had to change my way of thinking and create a new sort of jig to hold my chair. So I had to make some sort of jig to hold the chair in the right position. And so I'm using my lower bench with a few additional planks so that I can actually hammer gently onto the top of the leg without it jiggling and wiggling around. So, let me give you a long view of that. Yep. Preparation here is key on getting this nice and square, because I've made the mistake of, schlepping out on, I'll cut a piece that fits in there. And you can, but it's so much easier if you get this as square as possible before you start to carve in your new piece. I'm going to finish doing all the prep first. Here I'm scraping, and I'll also sand. No stripper though. This is a piece of 120 grit sandpaper wrapped around a soft sanding block type of sponge.
Oh, I'm sorry. How are you?
Good, how are you?
It's capital J, then all the rest are.
Oh, there's a bee in here. So this sat all night, and yeah, let's take off the clamps and see that we got some adherence there with our little fix on the leg. let's mix up some oxalic acid after we did all that sanding. And yeah, I'm going to mix it with some hot water. I don't need a lot. It's a little chair. And just put a little bit in there, a little hunk, and a couple of small glasses of hot water out of the microwave. Yeah. So let's see how we did. Last night, I gave it a good rinse after the oxalic acid. And yeah, I mean, it's far from perfect. And oop, it needs a little bit of sanding, obviously, especially because, like you said, it lifts the fibers. That water lifts up the wood fibers, and so we need to sand it back down again. Yeah, but it's better. I'm going to add an angle to my sanding so that fibers that are standing up will be knocked down. Not a huge angle, just a little bit of an angle. And then I'll finish it by going in the same direction as the grain. So, like I said, a little bit of an angle, like a 15 degree or so. So that came out really good. We're going to have to see what that looks like after we get some color on it. Yeah. I'm going to sand it again with 220. If I had 180, I would rather use that. But I'm going to use the 220 and just go over it a little by hand. Okay, I like the shellac finish, so let me show you what we have so far. It's reveals the wood as being nice and warm, a golden oak color, and I want to keep that, but I want to enhance it a little bit. And so something I like to do is to mix some of my pigments in with the shellac, and sometimes, not always, um, I use a little bit of denatured alcohol along with it, just to kind of water it down. Now, putting pigment in the shellac is a very mild way to add color, and you can put on as many coats as you like. You can add a little more pigment if you like. It's just the shellac takes the dye or pigment right into the pores. So it's a very, very nice way to enhance the natural look of the wood, the natural green. And the denatured alcohol is just part of the shellac anyway, since shellac is made with the flakes and with the alcohol. So I'm going to put on a mask because it's kind of strong. So one other good reason to add the denatured alcohol is that when you have a furniture piece, there are so many parts to it, and the shellac dries really fast. When you add the pigment to shellac, sometimes it starts to dry in certain areas, and if you go over it with just the regular shellac with the pigment in it, it discolors a little bit from the brush, like it just gums up a little bit. But with the denatured alcohol, if you put more product on it and rub it back and forth, it actually breaks down the previous swipe of shellac. So just something to remember. I'm sorry I didn't get any footage of that dye marker going on. So I can't.
Oh yeah. Well, you can always mute it.
Look how beautiful you
Oh,
look.
you changed. I'm happy to see you.
I know. Thank you for letting me come by and see you.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yay,
awesome.
yay, yay. I don't know if I
Yeah,
can
we have
just
to do
turn
so.
that. So this morning we're going to add some more color here, and I'm going to give it a bit of a sand first because we have the tinted putty. All in all, it looks pretty good. Get that sanding dust off. Look at this beautiful grain, huh? Looks so lovely now. All right. Um, yeah. These are the liners. Hopefully I have a little bit of, yeah. I need to unglove here because it's better with a raw hand. Now, this looks, kind of sketchy, but I'm going to add color over it. Okay. Now that has a very bright light on it. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll go over it again with the 600 grit sandpaper, and yeah, then we'll add our oils, and we will be done. Today we're going to use this Mélange organic hemp oil. Anyone who is, concerned about kiddos using something, piece of furniture like this, well, you shouldn't let them chew it anyway. And truthfully, any finish, once it's dry, because they don't do lead finishes anymore, you shouldn't let kids chew on furniture. But basically, if someone licked it or something, it wouldn't be poisonous. But this makes people feel better, I think, and especially because if it's going to actually go to a child, it's a good feeling to do that. Now I'm using this 4-aught steel wool because it's kind of my final sand, and so it works to do both things. It's doing the final sand, and it gives the oil a nice encouragement to get into those grains. And if you're thinking, well, there's shellac on it, the oil won't go into the grain. Well, it does, though, because shellac is a very friendly product, and the oil will penetrate right through the shellac. That's why it doesn't make an awesome finish. I love it, but it's not something you want to put wet glasses on and so forth and so on. It won't take a lot of abuse. But the good thing about shellac is you can degrade it with a little bit of alcohol if you wanted to freshen up the finish and give it a light sand and add more shellac. That's something that you can always do. And it really grasps onto the cells of the wood. So it's my go-to finish, and I love to use shellac with oil on restorations. So if that helps you decide what you'd like to do. So we will catch up when I get to the buffing part. I'm going to oil this entire chair, and then I'm going to go over it with a nice dry lint-free cloth. Hey, thank you for watching this week's video. This week I worked on a little child's chair, and the company was Paris Manufacturing in Paris, Maine, and I actually couldn't find out anything about this particular model. I saw another model that was a little bit more modern and more Art Deco, if you will. I was actually thinking that this piece might even have been a salesman's sample because of the simplicity of the way that it was made. Not that that's bad. I would like it actually, compared to the one they had with the Art Deco. I liked this model better. And I'm just throwing that out as a guess. I really don't know. I know that the company, Paris Manufacturing, was created in the mid 1800s, late mid 1861, I think, and they are a sled manufacturing company. So that's kind of interesting. I think they made the PF Flyer, and that's a really popular sled. So this was a secondary business for them as far as making furniture. And I think it was all pretty much aimed at children or young people. So this is oak, as far as I can tell. Beautiful grain. I think it's the white oak. And it did have a chip on the bottom of the leg. One of these over this side, I guess. I'll show you a close-up afterwards of, I got it as good as I could. We carved it in, added the dye stains and so forth. Let's see. So it's not perfect, and I like to leave the antiques with their original, I know the word isn't patina, but patina, um, with its original soul and presentation. So I like to fix things that are broken, and that's okay. I mean, that's my prerogative. But as far as removing every single blemish, I think it takes away its authenticity if you do too much of that. So it doesn't have any putty on the surface. So you can still see all the dings. The only putty I used was a tinted putty right around where I did my carving. And that was just to hide the seam, help hide the seam. So yeah, let's see, what did we do? We did a lot of sanding. I used several coats of shellac. Then I tinted the liquid shellac with some burnt umber, and it gave it just a hint of depth for the natural oak. We used the Mélange hemp oil as a finish, and you could argue with that. I think it's a nice and natural product. Anyway, it's nice and solid. It's so cute. I do love it. It has a beautiful shape. It's in beautiful condition. Um, and yeah, I hope it would make some little kid very happy. And we learned a little bit about tinting the shellac. My advice is to, if you're going to do that, to put a little denatured alcohol in it. And then if the shellac drips at all, or if you get a little bit of gumminess on your joints or anything that you want to remove, you just dip, a little rag or a Q-tip into the shellac with the denatured alcohol and dye and rub it out, and it will come right out, and you can put another seamless finish over it just like that. So it's fun to do. It's very easy. It's kind of a tricky finish to use the liquid shellac because you do tend to get drips, so you may not like that. But I don't mind. I'm just take my time and do it, and I'll fix the things that I messed up. So again, thank you so much for watching. This week was kind of special because earlier in the week I got to stop off and say hi to Levon at Statement Design. So I had shown you a few pictures of that. So I hope you enjoyed it. There might be some collaboration in the future. I don't know. It could be a secret. And it could be other collaborations with other YouTubers in the kind of group that we have. So yeah, check out Levon's channel. We're all growing, so anytime we can share subscribers and viewers, it's good, so, and you'll enjoy it. And thank you very much again. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I wish you all good and beautiful things. Take care.